Thank you, Frank, and thanks, Fred. And thanks to each of you. It's an honor to be here and accept this award on behalf of the Freedom Caucus. And you saw just a few of our great members of the Freedom Caucus. I was asked in the reception beforehand if I would disclose how many members of the Freedom Caucus we actually have. I said no. That is a closely guarded secret for the following reason. We're not well loved in the United States Congress. That's a good thing, that's right. And one of our most powerful leverage points is that we can go to leadership and say, we can give you this many votes, or we're going to have this many votes against what you're trying to do to the American people. That's why we keep that a guarded secret. I was also asked recently why the Freedom Caucus defends this president with such vehemence. And quite frankly, it's this. The Freedom Caucus was organized to basically take on the status quo, the uniparty in Washington, D.C. And in 2016, I was running for Congress for the first time. And I was gone night and day. My wife, my lovely wife, who's here with us today, and we have several wives of the members of the Freedom Caucus here with us. We couldn't do what we do without their help. But we would get up every morning at 4:30. Yeah, thank you. We would get up every morning at 4:30 and go do a literature drop. Now, you're saying, why 4:30 in the morning? Because we live in Arizona, and it's probably the last cool moments that you'll have of the day. It's only about 105 at that point. And we saw more people at 5 a.m. as we were dropping this literature, is going door to door, than we would if we were out at 5 p.m. And we would go until 10, 11 o'clock at night. And then the reality is, I got to watch one presidential debate for just a few minutes. And I turned to my wife and I said, one of these candidates, there's 17 people on stage, one of these things is not like the others. It's Donald J. Trump. And we said, we're going to support this guy because he was the one talking about making America great again, taking on the establishment, fighting the status quo in D.C. And that's what the Freedom Caucus does. So when you want to know why we support President Donald J. Trump, it's because we are aligned with him. We want to tear apart the status quo, which has seen America grow discredited and weak. That's what the Freedom Caucus is about. So I will tell you that I was wandering late at night a few weeks back in D.C., actually just leaving to come home from a series of meetings, and it was late. And I looked up, and what do you think I would see? On top of the dome of the Capitol is a cupola, and there's this bright, gleaming light, the light of freedom. The question is that light going to be extinguished, or will it endure? Well, I can tell you there are those in the United States Congress that would be pleased if it were extinguished, and we would be transformed into a socialist nation, never to rise again. Or is that light going to endure? I can tell you, like Ronald Reagan said it would be, the light on the hill, the city on the hill, to be a beacon of freedom. Well, we're at that crossroads right now. And you who are here support an enduring American freedom, an inspiration to people throughout the world. That's what this is about tonight. That's what this award symbolizes. The pursuit to make America the strongest, most free nation on the world again. And I will digress just a second to provide a typification, a similitude of what this president has faced since the day he was elected. On November 8th, he was elected, 2016. On November 9th, the first person in the United States Congress pronounced it was time to work on an impeachment resolution. The day he was sworn in, the Washington Post declared that it's time for the impeachment to begin, January 20th, 2017. January 30th, the attorney, Mr. Zaid, who's now representing the alleged whistleblower, talked about the coup that was in place. And we've been in a coup, the world's slowest moving coup, for the last 3 years. And you saw it personified and typified in the testimony of Dr. Fiona Hill this week, in this just disgraceful and disgusting sham of an impeachment inquiry, unlike any other impeachment attempt in the history of this nation. It's really the Adam Schiff show. It is a Schiff storm like you would never have believed could happen in the United States of America. The reality is this: Dr. Hill is such a deep state protagonist and protector, she did not even realize how far gone she was. In her opening statement, she said, "I have heard." We call that hearsay in the profession I used to be in for many years. I tried many cases. I've been repenting for 20 some odd years now. She said, "I have heard that there's those on this committee who reject the narrative that the Russians tried to influence our 2016 election." That is false. Her statement is false. It is a lie predicated on hearsay. And I can only assume that her source was Adam Schiff himself, because there's no one in the United States Congress that discounts the Russians' attempt to influence the election. But there are a substantial number of us who understand exactly what they were trying to do: sow the discord that has been perpetuated by the Democrats for the last 3 years. Then she said, "I have heard," again hearsay, that she didn't know it, she's not a fact witness. She said, "I've heard that there are members of this committee who believe that the Ukrainians are our adversary." Well, that's a lie, perpetuated again by someone who doesn't know what she's talking about. And then she proceeded to count and recount things that she presumed, things that she assumed. She was not any more a fact witness than the car salesman who sent me a text message saying, "Andy, I am fearful that I will be subpoenaed by Adam Schiff because I too know nothing about the Ukrainian impeachment investigation." You know, you really can't make this stuff up. So, Dr. Hill, her beef with President Trump was twofold. Number one, she believes that he was not accepting of the typical readout of the diplomats in the State Department, who all say, "Hey, the Ukraine is endemic with corruption, but we think Zelensky's our guy and he will turn it around. Release the money, go forward." And President Trump said, "Hey, there's some pretty bad characters over there. They've been corrupt for decades. You want us to give $400 million to the Ukrainians? We would really like to see some anti-corruption measures in place. Oddly enough, the money was released September 11th. 2 days before that, Mr. President Zelensky signed 2 anti-corruption measures, and one, taking away the immunity that members of parliament had in the Ukraine for corruption. Can you imagine? They had immunity for corruption. I thought that was only in America. And so they got rid of it. They got rid of it. And then he signed into law the creation of the anti-corruption court. 2 significant measures, and then he released the money. So when Frank's talking about the maximum pressure program that the president has in foreign policy, this was just one more example of it. Because you can't justify giving foreign aid to a nation that is so corrupt that we can't trace the money. We don't know who's getting it. We don't know what's happening to it. You've got oligarchs over there that are going crazy with it. And if you think this is President Trump's policy, in 2011, the renewal of our Defense Authorization Act included the same provision that there must be significant progress on anti-corruption, renewed in 2014 and renewed again in 2019. This president is being attacked for doing what he said he would do. And I'll leave you with 2 things that I think are critical to understand. He said he would take on the establishment, the elite, the status quo, and he would work to overturn it. It turns out, and I've actually heard the president say this, the swamp is wider and deeper than he ever thought it would be. And trying to overturn that status quo has been difficult because he is surrounded by people, even in the executive branch, who want to prevent his success in draining the swamp. So that's point 1. The second is the Democrats have a lobby that they are beholden to. It is the fanatical pro-abortion crowd. They care nothing about anything else except for allowing the unborn to be mutilated and destroyed through abortion. They're comfortable with infanticide, quite frankly. And you know what? This president is the most pro-life president in the history of this country. Because of that, because of his strong stance on that, that's part and parcel why they went after him from day one. You saw that the Democrats and the left were modestly opposed to the first Supreme Court pick of this president. You saw the crazy bananas they went, just absolutely fanatical, full of hate, venom spewing, that they went after when Brett Kavanaugh was going through his confirmation hearings. He is nominated and had more than 150 federal judges confirmed. He is remaking that judiciary. If he is allowed to nominate one more pro-life, constitutionalist, conservative Supreme Court justice, I guarantee you'll see rioting in the streets from the fanatics who want to disrupt this country and turn this country into the socialist hell that they call a socialist paradise. I guarantee that will happen. President Trump deserves, I'm sorry, you can't be partisan. I can be, sorry. President Trump deserves a second complete term in the United States presidency. Is he coming in? And the Freedom Caucus, and you saw some of us tonight, our first chairman, Jim Jordan, second chairman, Mark Meadows, we will do everything we can to defeat this ridiculous impeachment and ensure that President Donald Trump is reelected in 2020. Thank you for the award. We greatly appreciate it. Thanks so much.